next time when we meet for a similar conference, you may be able to exchange notes and say what worked and what didn't work. So that's the intention with which I brought this topic today. So don't expect a clear answer at the end of the session. I'm just going to share some of the triggers, share some of the things that worked and didn't work. What makes this transformational innovation difficult is the skills that are needed for core and adjacent innovation. Suppose you are the leader in core and adjacent innovations, then you'll be no way prepared to handle transformational innovation. The skills that are needed for transformational are very different from the skills that are needed for core and adjacent. So just because you are good in today's and adjacent technologies doesn't mean you'll be a leader in the transformational piece also. So that's why it needs some planning and needs a good strategy. There are three things that are very clear. Not that everything is fuzzy. There are at least three things that are clear when we talk about the future. Social needs, market trends, and our ability to predict or assess feasibility of a technical idea when you hear it for the first time. These three are like compasses which will help you to move in the right direction. So a simple thing that you should do when somebody shares an innovative idea with you, just ask these three simple questions. Will our customers desire this? Is this something desirable? That's the very first question, most important question. Is this something desirable for our customers? If not today's customers, or future customers. Is this something they would really desire? That's a very strong word, desire. Not just they need, they desire. Second is it technically feasible? The third is it economically viable? Three very simple basic filters to screen all the ideas that you hear in your organization. Just ask these three questions. In the same sequence, first ask whether it's desirable, then ask whether it's technically feasible, then ask whether it's economically viable. Sequence is important because if you're sure it's desirable, then it's worth spending some time on it and making it feasible and viable. But if it is not desirable at all to begin with, it doesn't justify spending any effort on that. Okay? So this is the simple thing that always works, whichever industry you are, whichever domain you could be in. Go ahead. Sure.
We can talk about a structured way of looking at the future. But there are, in fact, stories of the person who invented the telephone. After having invented it, he went around trying to sell his idea of, the telephone. And then he met with little success.
True.
So who would want to speak to somebody in a remote location?
Yes.
Yeah, so there are two sides to the coin. One is a structured way, the modern corporates look at innovation. And then there were the individual innovators of the olden age where...
Absolutely.
Sure.
We face the same problem every time when we see the need for a new product. The conventional voice of customer exercise never works. When we ask the customers whether they would desire something like this, they never say they want it, actually. That is always true. And we need to go beyond asking them. We need to observe them and see what problem are they trying to solve with the products that are available today? Is there a better way to solve? I remember Henry Ford's quote that if I had asked my customers what they want, they would ask for a faster horse. They would have never asked for a car. So it's up to us innovators to interpret what exactly they would desire. Because they don't know what is possible. They are just trying to get the best out of whatever is available to them. So we need to understand what else could do a better job on what they are trying to do today. So definitely, there is some amount of guesswork, there is some amount of creativity in interpreting what they really want. Absolutely. Sure. That's part of the risk that we do that. Sometimes some very good ideas still do not get acceptance, they do not get diffused into the markets. Still today we don't know why. So I will share some of those examples as we go along. So a whole bunch of challenges around this, but I would not go deep into this. Just say that it's one of the messiest things. Managing transformational innovation is one of the most difficult things, most frustrating things you can do in your career. But that's where the future growth is. That's where you should focus on if you want to secure your future. So what is transformational innovation? Putting your bets on new technologies for new markets. Simple, nothing else. Okay? So what are these new markets? Why are they so different from the markets that exist today? Let's take India, one market which we are all familiar with. The Indian market, if you try to segment it, this is how it looks. I'm sure you would have heard of this. This is no new data. You have been hearing about the bottom of the pyramid. So you have 684 million people who earn less than 150,000 rupees. And then on the top you have 16 million people who earn more than 17 lakhs. So then there are two segments, middle, which are really very rapidly growing, and they are systematically growing vertically up also. So you need to have products which cater to the needs and the aspirations of all these four segments. You need to have innovations which keep all these four segments happy. It's not just one. It's not just the top segment. It's not just the bottom segment. There is also a growing mid segment. So you need to have strategies for innovating across all these four segments. Not easy at all. If you try to bring a mature technology which you have worked for you in the mature market, say, you have been selling a product in the US, you try to bring it to India, maybe the top segment, which is earning more than 17 lakhs, will still pay for this and take it from you. The bottom segment can't even look at it. They just can't afford it. The mid segment will say, okay, show me value, then I'm ready to pay for it. So each one of them has a different question to ask when you approach them. So then there came this awakening that, these emerging markets like India, China are very different from the US or the Europe. So their needs are different from the needs of the mature market. So we need to modify our product. So I went through this phase about 5 years back when I was working for GE. GE Healthcare came up with a whole bunch of innovations for the Indian markets. Then in the last 6-7 years, when I've been with Honeywell and now Cummins, what I'm seeing is this awakening has further come along and says now, it's not that the needs of emerging market are different from that of the mature markets. They are totally different, absolutely different. There is hardly any similarity between the needs of the mature market and the needs of the emerging market. So whatever you did for the mature market, you have to totally forget, go back to your whiteboard and start from scratch if you want to have any significant presence in the emerging market. That's the most recent awakening that has happened among the multinationals who are trying to create products for countries like India. Sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to go back to the economics. When you talk about the transformation innovation, so when we're looking for new markets, should we look for the basic needs or social needs or esteem needs? So can we guess in such a way like that what will be your market like? You can estimate the income of the people in future and you can segregate that your innovation would fall under a social need or esteem need. That's the way we can still...
Absolutely. In fact, we have identified 9 themes when we want to create products, fit for market products we call it at Cummins. When we want to create products for India, we have 9 distinct themes. So it's not just segmentation based on their capacity to pay and buy things, but what they care for, what they aspire. There are 9 distinct groups. So each group cares for one thing. One group cares for efficiency. One group cares for the life. One group cares for whether it's a green technology, whether it's environment friendly, and a whole bunch of things. So each group has a different priority, what they see as value in a product. So one product is not going to keep any of this group happy. You have to have multiple variants of your product, and each will have a different enabling technology.
1 minute, Mr.
Sure.
Dr. Venugopal.
Sure.
I request...
But one thing I would like to remind you all, just because you're talking about a product for the bottom of the segment, it's a low-cost product, absolutely, but it's not a low technology, it's not an old technology. You need the latest technology. You need the high-end technology to come up with a low-cost product to address the needs of this market. That's where the challenge is. That's where the IP opportunity is, because it's all about high-end.
Dr. Venugopal, just 1 second. I request the delegates to note down the questions and please do not interrupt in the thing. We will have a clear-cut, about 10 minutes, something like that, a question-answer session. Let him have the full flow of the lecture, please.
Thanks. So let me hurry up. So it's not about some cheap technology, it's about the latest technology, a very high-end technology which you should be able to deliver as a low-cost product. Then you'll be more successful in these markets, and these markets are the future growth. If you are successful here, you'll be successful anywhere else in the world. So a product, couple of products I want to share as examples is the Chotu Cool from Godrej, which you'd have heard earlier, which is just a small refrigerator for just $70 for the Indian villages. The problem of refrigeration is age old. You want to extend the life of a food product, you don't want to waste it. The Indian culture is you don't want to waste food, you don't want to throw something. Somebody has put a lot of effort to growing that, you don't want to disrespect that and throw it, so you want to increase the shelf life of these products. It's an age old problem. But the condition there, the local constraint is electricity is highly unreliable. Maybe for 3 to 4 hours in a day, the villagers get their electricity, and you don't know which 3 or 4 hours they are going to be. Highly unreliable. And the solution for this dead cheap village refrigerator was a technology which was the latest in the labs. Not just all the labs across, few labs, especially the lab at MIT was working on this very actively. They had a good, very strong patent portfolio around thermoelectrics, solid state thermoelectrics, which we typically use for cooling the computer chip. Okay, very high-end technology put in a small, low-cost refrigerator, which goes and sells in the Indian villages. Okay, and all packaged at just $70. Can you believe? Some technology which is being worked at only in the labs of a reputed place like MIT, which is nowhere near readiness for market, that gets into a product which is sold in Indian villages, and that is your Chotu Cool, which you can buy, guess where? In the post offices. The Indian post offices sell this Chotu Cool. Not just the product design. Everything about Chotu Cool is very innovative. Pretty interesting. Okay, that's one product. And the second product I would like to share with you is a healthcare product from GE, which is a small ultrasound machine, which was designed for 1/10 of the cost. 1/10, not just 10% less or 20% less. 1/10 of the cost of an ultrasound machine the GE itself had been making before. And 1/3 of the size, which makes it portable and very easy to use. Doesn't need a trained operator to do it, anybody can use it. What this did was the concept of reverse innovation. Because not only 1/10 of the size, it's 1/10 of the cost, it's also 1/3 of the size. So many people back in the mature markets also found use for this, especially your ambulance, emergency, healthcare teams, they'd like to carry something like this along with them, which was never there before. So that was the first time a product which was designed for India went on to sell in many other parts of the world. That was the very first example of reverse innovation, which is innovation that happened here went to the rest of the globe. So it is possible. The kind of technology that has gone into it is the latest that you can find in the healthcare imaging space. So products for Indian markets, especially the villages, I'm not talking about cities, the villages, the very low-cost products, need very high-end technologies. And the IP space for this is getting crowded very, very fast. Unless you have a strong strategy there, you won't be able to get a foothold for yourself, and you won't be able to play there in future. I'll skip the piece on new technologies because I'm running out of time. I've put about 12 new technologies which have been seeing major breakthroughs, and wherever you are, whichever space you are operating, if you can leverage any of these 12 technologies, then you'll be able to leapfrog. The way technology has evolved in the mature markets, what has taken 20 years, you can do it in 2 years. If you leverage any of these 12 technologies that I put here, I'll leave the charts with you all. Orders of magnitude improvements have happened, cost has come down, or orders of magnitude, the time for development has come down. What costed $5 million as a fastest supercomputer is now $400 in the form of an iPhone available to you right in your own pocket. You can carry it around. Same computing capacity, it's no different. What took $2.7 billion and 13 years, the human genome, can be done in, guess what, in just $100 and 1 hour. That was the Human Genome Project. So this is just few examples. I'll share these charts with you. So you should look at these 12 technologies and see if you are leveraging any of those in the businesses that you do. If you're not, this could take you by surprise. So see how best you can leverage this. Now let's come to the IP strategy and wrap up this discussion with that. Idea, however great the idea is, you may win a Nobel Prize for the idea. But if you want to really transform that idea into innovation, you should be aware of what I have put together in this chart. The idea is the smallest thing that you see in this value chain out there. Your ability to align this idea with a real need out there in the market is the first barrier that you have to overcome. If you cannot align it, however great the idea is, that idea will never go anywhere. Suppose you manage to align it. Next is, you should be able to scale it up. If you are going to make only 5 pieces in a day, again, it's not going to go anywhere. How do you scale it up? In terms of cost, the environmental issues, the technology scalability, whole bunch of things. So a bunch of innovations around that. Then having scaled it up, if you're going to look at the patents only at that stage and see that it's already crowded, everybody else already has patents in this space, I hardly can do anything here, then it's too late. So you need to be very, very familiar with the patent landscape. What is out there, what you can do, what you cannot do, right when you conceive the idea itself. It's too late if you're going to look at after it aligning and scalability. So protectability, the IP part happens right on day one, so you should be familiar with the landscape. Finally, after all this, if the user doesn't feel empowered, he is not going to pay for it. In the sense, user today has a lot of constraints in using a product, especially if it's a high-end technology product. But your innovation should help to overcome all those constraints and make it easy for him. Your product should make his life easier. If it doesn't happen, again, he is not going to pay for it. So transforming idea to innovation is basically your ability to overcome, predict all the barriers that you will see in this journey and successfully overcome all those. So I'm going to demonstrate the IP strategy with just a simple example. So you are talking about innovations, you are talking about new technology for new markets, and you are also seeing that IP space is very crowded. Lots and lots of patents out there, very quickly filed by all your competitors. Then you are wondering what to do. How can I get a foothold here? So if I want to navigate through this crowded space, this is the heart of my presentation. How to navigate through a crowded IP space, especially when you are working on a new technology for a new market. There are 2 things you need to do. Navigating depends on your ability to envision and enable. Simple. 2 things you need to do. Let me explain what it's all about. I'm going to take an example, so please stay with me as we do this. I'm going to take an example of a simple mobile phone. Simple mobile phone, okay? You can imagine how crowded this space would be. It's an active space. Everybody want to have an innovative phone.
Another 3 minutes.
3 minutes, great. I'll wrap it up. So it's a lot of innovative products are coming. Definitely you would like to have your own patent in this space. New markets emerging, new technologies are coming, IP is crowded. So how are you going to get your own patent portfolio built in this space? Okay. Envisioning is 4 things. Understanding the real needs of the customer. Many times we ourselves are the customer. We know what we need from a cell phone, a mobile phone, many times. Understanding the needs of the customer. Second is, having understood the need, I should be able to come up with a differentiated product. There are so many phones when I go to any of these shops. How can I make sure that my phone stands out in this crowd? How can I differentiate my mobile phone with respect to all the other phones on the shelves there? That's the second piece. The third is, understand, if I want to create such a differentiated product, what technology I should have, what technology I should develop to create that kind of a product. And the fourth is, how do I protect that new technology? How do I secure the IP rights around those new technologies, which will help me to differentiate my product, which will address a very important need of my customer. So only 4 pieces.
In a full blackout, I think he's detecting the iPhone there.
Okay, I'll keep talking. I'll make it simple so that you can follow even without the chart out there. So the first is customer need. Okay, simple. All of us think we know what the customer wants when it comes to a common product like a mobile phone. Nothing much. So I just picked up 4 things. Easy to use. Many times when I buy a new phone, I don't know 80% of the features out there. I have to give it to my school-going daughter to figure out what exactly that phone can do. So many times it's not easy to use. First thing is easy to use. Second is easy to carry. Third is fashionable. Many times people look at you and look at the phone that you use. Fourth is hassle-free. Simple. These needs, I don't think it will ever change. These are fairly basic needs. To address these basic needs, how can I come up with a differentiated product? I just translated that to a user interface, lightweight, sleek, color. Then for hassle-free, I said energy efficient and good energy storage. This is how I translated. But remember, I started with only the basic needs. Then I tried to translate to where all I need to differentiate my product. Having done that, then I asked, what technology do I need to work on to have all these differentiations? That says I need to have an intuitive UI. Maybe to make it lightweight, I need to consider using carbon fiber composites. I should not use bulky fan for cooling. There should be possibility of local energy generation, improved battery, very efficient heat management, whole bunch of technologies that I can map this to. Once this is done, then I try to see where all I can have IP, where all I need to, how do I build my IP portfolio around these technologies which are going to differentiate my product and bring additional revenue for me in the future. So I try to map all the IP that I need to create if I want to really have a strong presence in this space. So I have listed a few things. By looking at the patents in each of this space, I know who are the players, what they are doing, what they hold. Is there a white space? Is there something that I can do? So far, so good. All I have done is try to kind of build a wish list of what all patents I need to have if I want to have a differentiated product in this market. Started with customer need, then differentiation, then the technology drivers, and finally the IP drivers. All I have is a wish list. I don't have anything. It's just a paper thing. Next comes the enabling part. So far, I have just envisioned what I want to have. Now comes the enable part as quickly assessing how crowded each of the spaces and then say, what are my IP opportunity in each of this? Simple, I just put a low, medium, high based on my understanding of the patent existing in each of these areas. I just put a low, medium, high as to what are my IP opportunities in each of this. Once this is done, I start thinking about areas wherever there is a high opportunity. I'm going to run my research programs and create my own inventions and secure IP as early as possible in these areas. Areas in which it's low and medium, what am I going to do? Because typically we focus wherever we can create our own inventions, wherever we can create our own IP, we do this well. But in this case, there are many things where my IP opportunity is low and medium. So I need to think about that also as part of my IP strategy. So I go on to do further research and find out who are the key players in this. Can I license in any of the technology? Who owns the strongest patents in this each of this space? Initiate interactions with them and see whether there's a possibility of licensing in some of the technologies. And also collaboratively, can I collaborate with them and co-own some of the IP that is going to come in the future in these areas? So it's a mix of me inventing plus me collaborating with others plus me licensing technology from others. So it's a holistic strategy that I need to have if I want to get a product quickly into the market. If I'm going to say everything I'm going to develop in-house, take it from research, from the lab to the market over the next 5 years, the product itself would have become redundant in these 5 years. So that strategy is not going to work. So I need to look at a more holistic strategy of a mix of inventing, creating my own IP, plus collaborating, plus possibly some amount of open innovation. Then comes the licensing piece. A mix of these three would help me to quickly get a product out to the market. So the enabling piece is what this is. Envisioning is very critical. If you do a good job on this, then half the job is done. But after envisioning, if you see that your opportunity is only in 1 or 2 spaces and you are going to get discouraged and drop the program, that doesn't justify it. So you need to have this kind of a holistic strategy, an inclusive strategy, which says even if I don't own IP, my target is to get the product out